Hey everybody, welcome, and I'm proud to report that looks like YouTube has got its act under control, but just in time for me to give you an update on Las Vegas Stadium and construction and advancement. I want to start off with a video I think is really cool that was made by Friends of Las Vegas, something or that, but at any rate, here is, I'll get to the video first, and then there, voila, here, right there, boom, yeah, here is the video, and let me play it for you. It shows the stadium floor still under construction, being used as kind of a storage area for parts, as it has been the case, but this is a rare inside look at progress. And as you can see, while there's still a long way to go in terms of specific installations and materials, the seats and much of the mezzanine levels are being put in place. The south end is still way behind and reflects some of the steel delivery problems that we've been told about. But overall, it looks great. I mean, you gotta really say this is a fantastic progress for the Oakland Raiders to be Las Vegas Raiders eventually. And even the most staunch critic of the project, for whatever reason, has to acknowledge that you can now see the vision that Mark Davis had in mind for his Oakland Raiders in Las Vegas or Los Angeles, but that was going to be Stan Kroenke, so this is Las Vegas, this is his deal. And that leads me to discuss the myriad number of problems that remain. For example, one thing I want to point to here in this is the other side of the I-15 Las Vegas Strip angle that you see from the Mandalay Bay Hotel. And if you've paid attention to construction, you know that that side has been worked on far more extensively than the other side, or the south end. This is the north end with the Davis torch over here. And so there's been a great deal of emphasis put on, I call it the visitor side, the tourist side, what the tourists will see. So from that angle, on the other side, it looks like the progress is much greater than it really is. Also, this is still open air, and after being decimated by something like 20 days of rains and hail and high winds, actually more than that, they finally have some calm with which to progress. Now, to what degree they are on schedule to meet the July 31st roof deadline, I don't know. I'm trying to find out. But getting more information about this, let me just put it this way, folks. Sunshine, and I say this in part euphemistically, seldom reaches this project, okay? It does. Seldom reaches this project. That video was from the fan who laughs. The fan who laughs on Twitter was posted on the 11th of June. Now, overall, yes, the stadium is progressing, but there are still sponsor problems and hotel visitor problems. Let's start with the sponsor problems. Right now, today, still, there has not been a stadium sponsor signed up in addition to the ones that have been secured as founding partners, specifically PPG Paint, Cox, and Caesars. Other than that, as far as Coca-Cola, and I really thank Coca-Cola Public Relations for their assistance, I have not received, and Coca-Cola has not been able to confirm any truth that Coca-Cola will be a founding partner at Las Vegas Stadium, even though it's logical to assume that's possible. Rather than throwing my source under the bus, I'll simply say this. most potential stadium corporate sponsors don't want their deals out there in public unless the deal is done. So even if the public relations people knew it was going to happen, they wouldn't say so. They did not say it was happening. They didn't say, no, that's not happening. They said, let us check. Okay? And said that's something that they're not aware of, which is close. But they didn't deny the possibility. So I have to be 1,000,000% honest and crystal clear regarding what the information I received looked like. Okay? Honest and crystal clear. Now, the other problem is equally major. And in fact, I would argue perhaps slightly more. It depends on how you look at it. The reason why I say that is this. It has to do with the naming rights. As some of you may know, the LA Rams, with the help of Legends Hospitality, the outfit that's part owned by Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, secured a reported $400 million naming rights deal for their Inglewood Stadium. Now, that stadium is north of almost 5, perhaps now north of $5 billion. Okay, $5 billion. $5 billion, all right? Okay, $5 billion. Excuse me. To have a stadium naming rights deal of just $400 million is embarrassing. Completely embarrassing. Legends is representative for not just the Rams, but also the Raiders in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, respectively, or if you like, Inglewood and Las Vegas, respectively. Now, riddle me this. How likely is it that Legends is able to top a $400 million, or try to top a $400 million naming rights deal in Los Angeles with a $600 million naming rights deal, which is a target, hey, Sean Grogan, in Las Vegas? My answer, not likely. Why? How do you justify, first to your client, that you can't obtain a $600 million naming rights deal for the Rams in LA, and that's by some measure the first or second largest media market, and yet you're able to secure one in Las Vegas, and that is the 42nd largest media market? That makes no sense whatsoever. None. It can't be explained. So I think it's very much not likely that such a deal would be struck. $500 million, again, with the Rams being at just $400 million, how do you justify that difference? What, other than a creative deal structure, could you offer up as an argument? My answer is you can't. You can't explain that to anybody. Now, where does that place the Raiders? Right now, by my estimation, there may be at $250 million in sponsorships, maybe $300 million if we want to be generous, but that's only by 3. Most founding partners have 11 to 14 founding partner sponsorship. Excuse me, most new NFL stadiums. I've talked to you about the Falcons. There's also the Vikings have had between 11 and 14 founding partners. The Falcons were able to score sponsorship levels over $1 billion. Chase Center for the Golden State Warriors, who play tomorrow night, that's over $2 billion. That's a record, folks, and that's for an arena. That's for an arena, which calls into question this, okay? Which calls into question this. John Acosta says he still thinks the Raiders don't play in Vegas until 2021. But riddle me this, folks. How is it and why is it that the Raiders could not secure a better naming rights deal in Oakland, considering what the Warriors have done and considering the Bay Area's place in the media markets around the United States and considering its overall tech wealth. Okay? Think about it. We're talking about SoFi Financial for the Rams. SoFi Financial, do you know where they're headquartered? The Bay Area. Think about it, the Bay Area. So basically, the Raiders left the Bay Area, right? They left the Bay Area, or trying to leave the Bay Area for Vegas. They sit there waiting for a naming rights deal. They could have scored at the level they wanted in Oakland with a stadium in Oakland. Excuse me for a second. Okay. With a stadium in Oakland. All right? So, having said that, where the Raiders are right now is they're pulling up limping. You have Chase Center for the Warriors at $2 billion. $2 billion in terms of sponsorships, including naming rights. You've got the Falcons clearing over $1.1 billion. They have a Super Bowl. And here you have the Raiders just limping along. We don't know when gambling is going to kick in, how it's going to kick in, what the legal outcomes are going to be. We only know that it's, quote, talked about, unquote. And we don't know a lot, in part because the Raiders are not required to give us a lot of information by Nevada law. That's right. Senate Bill 1 has a clause in it which basically allows the Raiders and the government, think about it, the government, to not disclose financial information. It's right there in black and white. And I'll show it to you in another broadcast, but I've talked about it before. You talk about sunshine ordinances, you talk about transparency. Those terms, they never met the Raiders. The Raiders are sitting pretty from that perspective, without question, sitting pretty. So then, that's one set of problems. The sponsorship and naming rights. Again, I remind you that by this time, leading toward their eventual opening, the Falcons had 8 of their 11 founding partners signed up. The Raiders are still at the number 3. Now we come to the discussion of hotel visitors. Okay? And even that is not a good picture, because according to Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the visitor count for April was down by 0.2%. You would say, no, that's not a lot. But get this. It's the second month of decreases, following 2 months of increases. And in total, while those months that are tabulated, specifically January, February, March, and April, in total add up to a 2% visitor increase over the year before. The problem is that the real numbers below, the convention numbers, are scary. The areas that are part of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority jurisdiction, all of which are not part of the stadium hotel tax area, but the major areas are, okay, realized overall, after experiencing increases in convention visitors of 15% and 6%, realized a decrease, 14% and 6% realized a decrease of 15% the next month, okay, over the previous year, not like from month to month, but over the previous year. And then 6%, okay? So in other words, here's the problem. Last year, 2018, in April, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reported an 11.1% increase in convention visitors over the previous year, April 2017. Well, this year, folks, that's been cut in half. The previous month, that increase was a decrease. So overall, when you look at convention visitors, you have this year compared to last year a near zero increase, a flat line. You take those numbers and you extrapolate them to the stadium hotel tax, and since here's the nasty problem for the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, since convention visitors are more likely to stay in the Strip, then what that means is that the negative convention estimates I've explained to you are far more likely to impact the stadium authority than if they were using the entire area jurisdiction of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. You understand what I'm saying? So they have, this is what I challenge the stadium authority to do. Don't show me your budget with all the numbers and the revenue you pulled from other places mixed in. No. Just do something really simple, because I did it. Just show the monthly bond debt, or better yet, how about the annual bond debt, okay, times the debt coverage ratio 1.5 to 1, and then take the actual monthly hotel stadium tax revenue and project that. And what you will find, take it now and apply it to those years where the bond issue, those months where the bond issue was active, and then put that out into the future. Show it now and into the future. I've already done it. I'm going to tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get, in most years, a deficit. There are only 3 years where there's not a deficit. And those surpluses are not enough to overcome the deficits that are built in the future because of the bond interest rate, okay? And going forward, it's not a pretty picture. Thank God for the Clark County Taxpayer. Excuse me. That was the Clark County Taxpayer. This person's not happy. Because they've been sold a bill of goods that, oh, this is not going to impact Clark County General Fund. At a point in the future, it is going to. And it doesn't matter if they take $31 million and, they kind of, in selling their PSLs, they oversold, which is great. They sold more than they projected, which is great, because they're able to use that $31 million. But they're not going to see that again. You have that one-time sale, supposed to be lifetime, right? And that's it. You're not going to see that bump again. So they can't turn around and say, oh, well, we'll just remarket the PSLs again. Remember the whole remarketing thing regarding the Raiders in Oakland? You're not going to see that again in Vegas. Their marketing is now, and their marketing is, for all practical purposes, is done. Sponsor money, that's supposed to go to the stadium. They got a Bank of America loan of $600 million plus interest to pay back. So you include the interest, you look at $600 million, $700 million. They're lucky it wasn't an $850 million line of credit. If it were, the Raiders would be in massive trouble. My original calculation had $850 in it. So I revised it. But the simple fact that the Raiders can't score a naming rights deal, even of $500 million or $400 million, spells trouble. Now you would say, what about gambling? What about it? I don't know what the estimates are going to look like from it, or when it's going to come into play, or because it's gambling, how that revenue is going to be divided up, or when it comes in, will Nevada call for a special tax? Which, if they do call for a special tax and it falls on the Raiders and the other sports teams that are coming into Las Vegas, guess what? That triggers, boom, that's right, the non-relocation agreement. It renders it null and void, okay? Keep that in mind, folks. It renders it null and void. So, this is not without its problems. And it continues to be a very fascinating project to watch as a person who loves to build things. And I have to once again commend Las Vegas. However, Las Vegas advancement at this point is starting to become to the Raiders' disadvantage. Why? Because Las Vegas City Council granted a group that's led by Floyd Kephart. Remember that name? The same man who tried to build a stadium for the Raiders. Now he's essentially working against the Raiders, even though I understand that talks have been amicable, something like that. But I think he's playing nice because it's Vegas. The simple fact of the matter is that Floyd is working with a billionaire. He has no reason to take his soccer team and put it in Las Vegas Stadium. They just got a go-ahead to build a 25,000-seat retractable roof stadium in Las Vegas. So what does that do? It not only takes away, potentially, even though Bill Foley says he wants to put one in the Raiders Stadium, it not only basically harms that and all but obliterates that possibility, actually. It takes away a number of home games that would have benefited the Raiders in that list of that mark of 50 large events they have to have annually at Las Vegas Stadium. Something that MGM President Bill Hornbuckle questioned the ability of the Stadium Authority, a mark that he questioned the ability of the Stadium Authority and the Raiders to achieve during the SNTIC hearings. He was right on. Okay? He was right on. I mean, that in and of itself is scary, because what Mark Davis is facing is a future where, sure, everyone's excited about Las Vegas Stadium, but you have MSG Sphere going up, that takes away concerts. And then you have soccer, okay, soccer stadium, that takes away not just soccer, but the possibility of any other kind of event they might have at Las Vegas Stadium there. Because now, hey, if the price is right for MLS Soccer Stadium, they'll go there. And MLS soccer people may have a better and more seasoned stadium manager than over at Las Vegas Stadium. That's a hint. All right, that's a hint. I'm not going to say who. I'm just throwing out there a hint. Throwing out here a possibility. Okay? A strong possibility. So, if you take a look at the total constellation of events, it doesn't point true north for the Raiders in total. It points at zero. Like, hey, we don't know where this is going to go. It could work against us. And I would say it points true south. Because I haven't even started to mention the possibility of an NBA team. Now you would say, why not at Raiders Stadium? But you know, and I know, that any organization, any group of people that's proposing an NBA team, particularly with what was done at Chase Center or Sacramento Kings home, or where the Milwaukee Bucks play, and go on and on and on, they're going to want a state-of-the-art basketball arena, not a secondary place in a football stadium. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They won't care if it's Las Vegas. And the minute that's built, and there's already been an effort to try to build that, you know and I know that's one more facility that dooms the Raiders' ability to get the events needed so that it pays for itself. That is a horrible situation to be in, folks. And as we advance, and yeah, Las Vegas seems to be happier and happier, it looks worse and worse. That's where we are. Oh, and I might add, speaking of sponsorships, there are some who are forecasting a recession in third quarter of 2020. I personally hope not. If we get that, we'll get two things. a slowdown in sponsorship activity, which will hurt the Raiders, and a changing of the guard at the White House, because no president's going to survive a recession. That doesn't happen. And if it did happen this time, you would have to say, cheating, cheating, first words out of your mouth. But that's another conversation for another time. Folks, I got to go because I got to wake up very early. I am going to try, if I can move my body in that way, I think I'll be able to get over to the ESPN First Take event, just because it's going to be, sadly, the last time ESPN is here for finals. And until we get another NBA team and that team does well enough to go to the finals, and I don't know when that's going to be. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Oakland deserves an NBA team. Oakland deserves an NBA team. I am to fly out tomorrow night, so if I do a live stream, and I will be after the game, but at the airport, because I had to go straight to the airport. Okay, I'll see everybody, and thank you for watching, and good night. And subscribe to Zenny62 if you haven't done so. And by the way, send this around, spread it around, tweet it out. Thanks. See ya.